All right, so this is just going to be a little bit more off the cuff. Around here at Anime Cast, we really don't do a whole lot of structured stuff, and so I'm just going to throw my ideas and thoughts out here as I go. This is just going to be a quick little review of the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters. A little heads up, I did not have a PlayStation system or these games when I was a kid growing up, so these remasters were my first experience with playing the games myself, but I was first exposed to these games through a playthrough by one of my most favorite YouTubers by the name of Jin. And she started with a Suikoden 2 full 100% playthrough. That was my first experience. And a few years later, she finally tackled Suikoden 1 and did a full 100% playthrough on that as well. And that was my experience for the first 10 years of knowing about these games. And when I heard that these games were finally getting a remaster and a re-release, I was so excited. So very, very excited. And I will say that I think these games have 100% been well worth the wait. Having said that, I do have a few critique moments here and there to talk about, just a few things. All in all, I think these games were beautifully remastered. They are glorious. I will say that also that I absolutely love the watercolor portraits that they did for Suikoden 1 all through the original game. The gorgeous watercolor field and landscapes. It was all so gorgeous. And while these remasters certainly do make for beautiful graphics, there is absolutely something to be said for these gorgeous watercolor renditions from the first game, the way that it was originally brought out. That said, what Konami did with Suikoden 1, truly it was beautiful. It was. The way that they fixed these games and made them as beautiful as they did, it is really something to behold. But if there is one thing that I do have to critique, it is that, and I knew that this was not going to happen, it was just something I had hoped for, but I knew that for my critique, one thing that does bother me just a bit is that I had hoped that they would bolster Suikoden 1 just a bit, that they would give it just a little bit more content, a little bit more of those side features that were introduced in Suikoden 2. There are things like the cooking game, the wall climbing game, all of these extra games and features and little side bits of content that you could do in Suikoden 2 that you didn't get to do in Suikoden 1, and I had hoped, knowing full well, knowing how Konami is, because I played Yu-Gi-Oh! For years, so I know enough about Konami and how they do their games to know they were never going to do it. I had hoped that they would at least bring some of the content from Suikoden 2 over into this Suikoden 1 remaster and give us some of that little extra bolstered content. It is well known that Suikoden 2 is at least twice as long, if not longer, than Suikoden 1. And I had just these hopes, knowing full well that the likelihood of them happening was not high, that we would get to see that in Suikoden 1, that they would have taken the opportunity of delaying the game when they did, which I was all for. When they said they were delaying it so they could make it better, I was all for it. I was certain by that point that they were going to be doing something more than just fixing glitches and a graphical update. But that was not the case, and that's fine. As the games are, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. They've been executed on so well. These remasters have been well worth the wait. And what we got for these remasters were absolutely worth every minute of wait time. That said, I do truly wish that Suikoden 1 had just gotten that little extra bit of content somewhere. And I'd hate to think that there is going to be some kind of a downloadable content thing later. I'm hoping they'll actually just leave it alone at this point now that they've been released and won't try to add downloadable pay-as-you-go content, because we don't need that. I have a feeling that might be the case, but we'll see. I hope to be proven wrong. I truly, truly do. That said, given the fact that Suikoden 1 did not get much more than just a visual upgrade, and the fact that they did work out the glitches for better and for worse, I'm giving Suikoden 1 a 7 out of 10. I wish so much that they had given some of those fun side games from Suikoden 2 to Suikoden 1 as well with this remaster. I think that would have been a glorious, wonderful thing for them to have done. But they didn't, and I'm okay with it, because for the first time ever for myself, I got to play Suikoden 1, a game that I have been clamoring to get to play for over a decade at this point. And it was so wonderfully well worth the wait. For Suikoden 2, it was everything I wanted it to be. It was gorgeous. It was glorious. It was exquisite. A lot of those complaints about the graphics, or, well, viewpoints at the very least about the graphics, do hold true for this as well. Suikoden 2 was already so beautiful. And I know that for many, many, many of the OG fans, this is something where they were always going to be on the fence on the graphics. I agree. The original graphics are gorgeous, beautiful, absolutely exquisite. I also love what they did with this remaster. It looks beautiful. So I'm not mad. For me, this is such a fun experience, and I've already played through the game once. I messed up. I did not get the 100% perfect final playthrough of Suikoden 2, so where I 100% Suikoden 1, I'm now on my second playthrough of Suikoden 2 because I messed up, and I want to go back and get that 100% perfect playthrough. And I knew I had messed up. It just, I got so late in the game when I did mess up, it was too late to go back and fix it at that point. So I'm now on my second playthrough, and I love every minute of it. It is so much fun. I love it. I love this experience. I love what they've done with these games. I love Suikoden 2 so much. I do also have just a couple of small things. There was one instance in my first playthrough of Suikoden 2 where the game did freeze on me in the Cave of the Wind when I was battling one of those golden god monster, Jesus, statue, whatever creatures they had in there. I don't remember what it's called. And it only froze that one time. Not at all through Suikoden 1, and not at all before or after that moment did Suikoden 2 ever freeze on me. And it did not, and has not so far for my second playthrough either, which is great. That tells you just how stable these games are, that it froze one time. And it could very well simply have been that it froze because I was just sitting there and inputting with buttons too much. And if that's the case, then, I mean, hey, that's not bad. That is really, really, really solid. They said they were taking the time on these games to make sure they were polished, and they were correct. This has been a wonderful experience, but I also know, too, that for the returning players, the original players, the people who exploited all those fun glitches that they have completely worked out of the game entirely, like getting to get to Matilda as early as you could and recruit characters so much faster in certain ways. Not getting to do that is unfortunate. And I admit, getting to exploit fun glitches is so satisfying. So by getting rid of those glitches, yes, they have more or less shoehorned you into having to play the game exactly the way that it is supposed to be played. But I'm also not mad at it. I'm not mad at it because they did such a beautiful job on this game that you can tell that these remasters were truly a labor of love. And despite a couple of small things here and there, these games are so good. They are so beautifully good. For me, Suikoden 2, the remaster, is an 8.5 out of 10. And my reason for that is because of that one small freeze glitch that happened the one time, and the fact that they did work out the fun glitches to the point to where you don't get to choose exactly how you want to play. You now have to play the way that you are supposed to play. And I love being able to play a game and get to decide exactly how I want to play. But I fully respect what they did with these remasters. They are beautiful. And this is 100% an experience that was so well worth the wait. Anyway, that's all I have. I don't really have much else to say. If you like our content, we do a lot more of just off the cuff, whatever. We're still brand new. My friend and I are the only ones running this channel. And we just put out content that we like to put out right now. We haven't settled on a specific genre that we're focusing on. We love to do anime related stuff. We love to do some food taste testing videos. Might have a review once in a blue moon about something. We're really just throwing a little bit of everything at the wall right now until we figure out exactly what it is we fully want to do. And maybe we're going to just actually do several different things and just go from there. We haven't really decided yet. And I think because we're still so new, we have that opportunity to do that. So if you like what we're doing here, just, like, subscribe, share our videos, go take a look at some of our other content. We've got a ton of fun stuff. We've got a bunch of shorts out. We've got shorts that are clips from the longer videos so you can see some of the funny moments from some of our other videos. Maybe you'll enjoy some of that nonsense. We like to just be weird and goofy and do whatever suits our fancy. So come check us out at Animated Chaos. We're honestly a lot of fun, and we hope you'll stick around. So see you later. Bye.